Madison Prescott entered Judge Judy's courtroom as if she were walking a Fashion Week runway. At 19 years old, the daughter of a tech billionaire had never faced a real consequence in her sheltered life. Her father, Richard Prescott, had amassed a $2.3 billion fortune in Silicon Valley. And Madison had spent her life making sure everyone knew she was untouchable. The designer outfit she wore that Thursday afternoon revealed everything about her mindset. An $8,500 Chanel bag hung loosely from her wrist. $3,200 Louboutin heels echoed across the courtroom floor. A $12,000 Cartier love bracelet flashed with every careless motion she made. But it wasn't the $23,700 in accessories that caused everyone in the courtroom to instantly dislike her. It was her expression, that smirk, that made it clear she expected to walk away without a mark, just as she always had. What brought Madison before Judge Judy was an incident that had spread across social media and ruined an innocent woman's life. 3 weeks earlier, Madison had been speeding through a grocery store parking lot in her $95,000 Range Rover, texting and applying lipstick at the same time, when she slammed into a 2009 Honda Civic. That Civic belonged to Jessica Rodriguez, a 42-year-old single mother working 2 jobs to send her daughter to college. Jessica worked 65 hours a week, dividing her time between a supermarket cashier job and an overnight cleaning company, saving every possible dollar for her 16-year-old daughter Sophia's education. The crash didn't just total Jessica's car. It shattered 3 weeks of her life. She missed 3 days of work, losing $680 she desperately depended on. Worse, without transportation, Sophia missed a scholarship interview at Stanford University, an opportunity worth $240,000 that would never return. But what made this case explode? What sent it viral? What drew national attention to an ordinary traffic accident was what happened next. After Madison crashed into Jessica's car, after she saw the hard-working mother crying over her wrecked vehicle, Madison did something that exposed exactly who she truly was. She laughed. She pulled out her iPhone, took photographs of Jessica crying in the parking lot, and posted them on Instagram with a caption that would haunt her forever. The post read, "Just ruined some peasant's day. Sorry, not sorry. Rich girl problems." She added hashtags and emojis, turning someone else's devastation into content for her. 73,000 followers. When Jessica's insurance company investigated the crash, Madison filed a false claim. She said the accident wasn't her fault, that Jessica's car was already falling apart, that she had barely touched it. Her father's lawyers immediately stepped in, doing what they had done 4 times before when Madison caused accidents. They made calls, offered settlements, and tried to make the problem disappear with money. But Jessica Rodriguez wasn't interested in settlements. She wanted justice. And somehow, against all odds, the case ended up in front of Judge Judy, a woman who had built her career on dismantling the arrogance of entitled people who believed they were above consequences. Madison entered the courtroom on a Thursday afternoon with white Apple AirPods still in her ears and a Starbucks venti iced coffee in her hand. She didn't remove the AirPods when the bailiff announced her case. She didn't look up from her phone when Judge Judy entered. She slid into the defendant's seat as if she were irritated to be there at all, as if this were nothing more than an inconvenient interruption to her shopping trips and spa appointments. What Madison didn't know, what she couldn't see from the defendant's table, was that Jessica Rodriguez had brought something to court that would shatter every lie Madison had constructed. Hidden inside Jessica's purse was dashcam footage from another vehicle, footage that captured everything. The speed Madison was driving, the reckless swerving between parked cars, the phone in one hand and lipstick in the other, and, most damning of all, what happened after the impact. That footage would become Madison's downfall, though she had no idea yet. She was still smirking, still confident, still completely convinced that her father's money and lawyers would save her. Just as they always had, Judge Judy had already reviewed the case file. She had seen Madison's history of previous accidents, more than $127,000 in damages, all quietly erased by high-priced attorneys. She had seen the Instagram posts, the cruel captions, the clear pattern of someone who had never been told no in her life, and Judge Judy had made her decision before Madison ever walked through the courtroom doors. This entitled brat was about to learn the most expensive lesson of her privileged life, and it wasn't going to cost her father a single dollar. Before we show you what happens when Madison makes the fatal mistake of rolling her eyes at Judge Judy, remember that less than 5% of viewers are actually subscribed. If you believe in real justice, in holding the wealthy accountable, and in protecting hardworking mothers like Jessica Rodriguez, hit the subscribe button now. What happens next will be one of the most satisfying moments of karma you've ever witnessed, and you don't want to miss a single second of this entitled rich girl's world completely falling apart. The bailiff's voice cut through the courtroom murmur with practiced authority. The people of the state of California versus Madison Elizabeth Prescott. Case number 47,298. Madison didn't even look up from her phone. She was in the middle of replying to a text message, her perfectly manicured nails flying across the screen with the urgency of someone negotiating world peace rather than making dinner plans with her sorority sisters. Judge Judy lifted her gaze from the bench, her sharp eyes instantly registering every detail of Madison's disrespectful entrance. The sunglasses resting on top of her head despite being indoors, the phone seemingly glued to her hand. The way she moved with the casual arrogance of someone who had never been denied anything in her life. Judge Judy had seen thousands of defendants pass through her courtroom over the past 25 years. But something about Madison Prescott's attitude triggered an immediate reaction. This wasn't ordinary teenage entitlement. This was something far more toxic, far more dangerous. This was someone who genuinely believed the law was a suggestion for the poor and an inconvenience for the wealthy. Madison finally reached the defendant's table and dropped into her seat with an exaggerated sigh, the kind a teenager makes when asked to do basic chores. She crossed her legs, adjusted her designer bag on the table, and immediately pulled out a compact mirror to check her makeup. The gesture was so openly disrespectful that even the court reporter paused mid-keystroke, stunned by the audacity. Judge Judy slowly removed her glasses. That familiar motion, longtime viewers recognized as the warning sign of an incoming reality check. Her voice was calm and controlled, but edged with authority that should have told Madison to be careful. Miss Prescott, welcome to my courtroom. Let's start by putting away the phone and the mirror. You're here to address serious charges, not to prepare for a photo shoot. Madison looked up with an expression that somehow managed to convey both boredom and mild irritation. She snapped the compact shut, the click echoing through the silent courtroom, but she didn't put her phone away. Instead, she placed its face up on the table, the screen still glowing with incoming notifications. Yeah, okay, can we make this quick? I have a spa appointment at 4 and traffic is going to be insane. The courtroom erupted in stunned whispers. Even Madison's own attorney, visibly nervous public defender who had been assigned to the case after her father's lawyers abruptly withdrew, looked horrified by his client's tone. Judge Judy leaned forward slightly, her expression hardening. Ms. Prescott, I am Judge Judith Schindlin. In this courtroom, you will address me as Your Honor. You will show respect for these proceedings, and you will absolutely not prioritize a spa appointment over facing the consequences of your actions. Do we understand each other? Madison shrugged, an infuriating gesture of complete indifference. Sure, Your Honor. Whatever you say. Can we just get to the part where I pay the fine so I can leave? Judge Judy's jaw tightened. She had been practicing law longer than Madison had been alive, and she recognized the pattern instantly. This wasn't ignorance or immaturity. It was calculated disrespect from someone who had learned that money could buy freedom from accountability. Ms. Prescott, you are charged with reckless driving, destruction of property, leaving the scene of an accident, and filing a false insurance claim. These are serious criminal charges that can carry significant penalties, including jail time. Do you understand the gravity of your situation? Madison laughed a short, dismissive sound that made Judge Judy's eyes flash with barely contained anger. Jail time for a car accident? Come on, Your Honor. We both know that's not happening. My dad's lawyer said this would be like a $50 ticket and some community service at most. Probably not even that once we explained her car was already a piece of junk. The casual cruelty in Madison's voice when she referred to Jessica's vehicle, the complete absence of remorse or even basic human empathy, filled the courtroom with tension. Judge Judy glanced toward the plaintiff's table, where Jessica Rodriguez sat in her supermarket uniform, having come straight from her morning shift. The 42-year-old single mother looked exhausted, her eyes red from crying, her hands trembling slightly as she gripped a folder of evidence that would dismantle Madison's lies. Beside her sat her daughter Sophia, a K-16-year-old with her mother's gentle eyes and her father's determination. Sophia wore her school uniform, having missed class to support her mother, and the way she held Jessica's hand spoke volumes about their bond and the hardship they had endured. Judge Judy turned back to Madison, who had already picked up her phone again and was scrolling through Instagram, completely unaware of the storm about to break over her. Ms. Prescott, put that phone down immediately, or my bailiff will confiscate it for the duration of these proceedings. Madison looked up in genuine shock, as if the idea of someone taking her phone were completely foreign. You can't take my phone. Do you know how much this costs? $2,400. My dad would sue you. The threat lingered in the air for a moment before Judge Judy replied with the cold precision that had made her a legend. Ms. Prescott, I don't care if that phone costs $24 million. This is a court of law, not your personal playground. You will put it away now, or you will be held in contempt. And trust me, your father's money means absolutely nothing in my courtroom. Reluctantly, Madison slid her phone into her Chanel bag, though the expression on her face made it clear she saw this as an outrageous violation of her rights. Judge Judy moved forward with the case, her voice settling into the controlled authority seasoned court watchers recognized as the calm before the storm. Ms. Rodriguez, please tell the court, in your own words, what happened on the afternoon of October 15th. Jessica stood slowly, her hands trembling as she gripped the edge of the witness stand. Her voice was soft at first, barely audible, and Judge Judy gently asked her to speak up. Taking a deep breath, Jessica began to describe the day that had turned her carefully constructed life upside down. She explained that she had been parked in the grocery store lot, loading bags into her trunk after buying food for the week with carefully clipped coupons. She described hearing the screech of tires and looking up to see a white Range Rover racing through the lot at what felt like highway speed, weaving recklessly between parked cars. Jessica's voice broke as she recalled the impact, how her entire car shuddered from the force of the collision, how she was thrown forward into the steering wheel despite being completely stationary. She explained how she stumbled out of her vehicle and saw the crushed rear panel, the shattered taillight, and fluid leaking onto the pavement. Then she described Madison's reaction, how the young woman in designer clothes stepped out of her Range Rover without a scratch, without a shred of concern, and immediately began laughing. Jessica testified that Madison pulled out her phone, not to exchange insurance information, but to take photographs. Photographs of Jessica crying, of her destroyed car, of the scene that represented the collapse of everything she had been working toward. The courtroom fell completely silent as Jessica recalled begging Madison to at least provide her insurance. Details and the response she would never forget. Asterisk, she said, Madison told her she should be grateful for the accident because now she could get something better, something from this century. She said Jessica's car was an embarrassment and that she was probably committing insurance fraud by even having it on the road. Asterisk, throughout Jessica's testimony, Madison sat at the defendant's table wearing an expression of profound boredom. She inspected her nails, shifted in her seat, checked her watch repeatedly, and at one point yawned so dramatically that several people in the gallery gasped at the disrespect. Asterisk, Judge Judy noticed every gesture, her expression darkening with each passing moment. When Jessica described missing 3 days of work and losing $680 she desperately needed, Madison rolled her eyes so blatantly that the courtroom camera captured it clearly. When Jessica's voice cracked as she explained how her daughter Sophia missed the Stanford scholarship interview because they had no transportation, Madison muttered something under her breath. The court reporter caught it on the official transcript. Not my problem. Asterisk, those 3 words, spoken just loudly enough for the microphone to record, became the most damning evidence of Madison's complete lack of remorse. Asterisk, Judge Judy allowed Jessica to finish her testimony, then asked the question that would later go viral around the world. Ms. Rodriguez, can you tell the court about the financial impact this accident has had on your family? Asterisk, Jessica wiped her eyes and explained that the car was totaled, that the insurance payout of $3,200 was nowhere near enough to replace it, and that she had been taking the bus to both jobs, adding 3 hours to her already exhausting day. She described how Sophia's Stanford interview had been a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, how the scholarship would have covered full tuition worth $240,000, and how her daughter had spent 4 years maintaining a perfect grade point average only, to have it all destroyed by one person's reckless selfishness. Asterisk, as Jessica spoke, tears streaming down her face, Madison's phone buzzed inside her purse. Without thinking, without any awareness of where she was or what was happening, Madison reached for it. Asterisk, Judge Judy's voice sliced through the air like a blade. Ms. Prescott, I warned you about that phone. Asterisk, Madison looked up with the same entitled expression, the look that suggested she believed she was being unfairly persecuted. It's just a text. It's probably important. Asterisk, Judge Judy stood from her bench, an unusual move that immediately commanded everyone's attention. She walked to the front, directly in Madison's line of sight, her presence radiating authority and barely contained fury. Asterisk, Ms. Prescott, do you understand that Ms. Rodriguez works 65 hours a week at 2 jobs to support her daughters education? Asterisk, Madison shrugged, that casual gesture of indifference that had become her signature. I mean, that's her choice, I guess. Nobody forced her to have a kid she couldn't afford. Asterisk, the courtroom erupted in shocked gasps and angry murmurs. Judge Judy raised her hand for silence, her eyes locked on Madison. Let me ask you directly, Miss Prescott, do you take any responsibility for this accident and the damage it caused to Ms. Rodriguez's life? Asterisk, this was the moment. This was when Madison Prescott made the decision that would define her next year and teach her a lesson about consequences no amount of money could erase. Asterisk, Madison leaned back in her chair, that infuriating smirk tugging at the corners of her mouth. She looked first at Judge Judy, then at Jessica, then back at the judge. Her voice dripped with condescension, contempt, and the absolute certainty that she was untouchable. Asterisk, honestly, no. That car was a hazard on the road. It was old, it was ugly, and it probably would have broken down next week anyway. I probably did her a favor by taking it out of commission. Maybe now she'll get something from this century instead of embarrassing herself driving around in that disaster. Asterisk, she paused and then delivered the line that would haunt her forever. And if she can't afford a decent car, maybe she should have made better life choices. That's not my problem. Asterisk, the eye roll that accompanied those words was so exaggerated, so theatrical, so perfectly captured by the courtroom cameras that it would be replayed millions of times across social media. 10 seconds of absolute silence followed. Asterisk, Judge Judy stood perfectly still, her face a mask of controlled rage. Madison sat smirking, completely convinced she had just won the argument, oblivious that she had just destroyed her own life with 7 words. That's not my problem. Asterisk, the silence stretched 5 seconds, 7 seconds. 10 seconds of pure tension that everyone in the courtroom would remember for the rest of their lives. Asterisk, Judge Judy slowly removed her glasses, that deliberate gesture that had become legendary. Over her 25 years on television, she folded them carefully, set them on the bench, and spoke in a voice so quiet that everyone leaned forward to hear. Asterisk, Miss Prescott, stand up. Asterisk, Madison looked momentarily confused, still wearing that smirk, still convinced she was somehow winning this confrontation. She stood up with exaggerated slowness, adjusting her designer dress and tossing her hair over her shoulder. Judge Judy stepped closer, close enough for Madison to see the absolute fury burning in her eyes. You just made the biggest mistake of your entitled, privileged, spoiled life. You stood in my courtroom and called a hard-working mother's struggles not your problem, while mocking her for the crime of being poor. You laughed at a woman who works 65 hours a week to give her daughter opportunities. You destroyed her transportation, her income, and her daughter's future, and you feel nothing. Absolutely nothing. Madison's smirk began to falter as she realized this wasn't going according to plan. Judge Judy turned to her bailiff. Bring in the evidence we discussed earlier. The bailiff wheeled in a television monitor, and Madison's confusion turned into the first flicker of genuine concern. What evidence? What is this? Judge Judy didn't answer. She pressed play on a video that would destroy every lie Madison had constructed. The dashcam footage from another vehicle captured everything in crystal clear high definition. Madison's white Range Rover entered the parking lot at 43 miles per hour in a clearly marked 15 miles per hour zone. The camera showed her swerving between parked cars, her head down looking at her phone, her left hand holding what appeared to be a tube of lipstick. The footage showed her applying makeup while driving, texting, and balancing an iced coffee between her knees. Then came the impact, the sickening crunch of metal on metal as Jessica's Civic lurched forward from the force. But what followed made the footage devastating. The camera captured Madison stepping out of her vehicle not to check if Jessica was okay, not to apologize, but laughing. Laughing as Jessica stumbled out of her car, crying, examining the damage. The footage showed Madison pulling out her phone and taking photographs, circling Jessica's car like she was documenting an art installation rather than the destruction of someone's livelihood. The audio captured Madison's voice clearly. Oh my God, this is hilarious. Wait until my followers see this disaster. This car probably hasn't been washed since the 90s. Then came the moment replayed 40 million times across social media. Madison standing in front of the crying Jessica, posing for a selfie with the wrecked car in the background, laughing as she typed her caption. The footage showed Jessica begging for insurance information and Madison's response. Insurance, sweetie, you should be thanking me. That thing was a death trap. Now you can upgrade to something that won't embarrass you. The video ended with Madison driving away, leaving Jessica stranded in the parking lot, surrounded by her scattered groceries. Judge Judy let the silence stretch after the video ended. Madison stood frozen, her face pale, all traces of her smirk gone. She opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out. Judge Judy picked up a stack of papers from her bench. "Miss Prescott, these are printouts from your Instagram account. Posts you made public for your 73,000 followers to see." She began reading them aloud, each one more damning than the last. October 15th, the day of the accident. Just ruined some peasant's day. Sorry, not sorry. Rich girl problems. October 17th. Poor people are so dramatic about everything. October 21st. My dad's lawyers are handling some nonsense with a nobody who thinks she can sue me. Judge Judy set the papers down and looked at Madison with an expression of disgust. "You called Ms. Rodriguez a peasant. You called her a nobody? You treated her daughter's destroyed future as content for your social media followers. Ms. Prescott, I have seen a lot of entitled defendants in my courtroom, but you are genuinely one of the most callous, cruel, and remorseless people I have ever encountered." Madison finally found her voice, and it came out as a desperate whisper. "I want my lawyer. I want my dad's lawyer. He handles everything. This isn't fair." Judge Judy's response was immediate and devastating. "Your daddy's lawyer isn't here, Miss Prescott. You are here, and you are about to learn that some consequences can't be bought, negotiated, or made to disappear with money." She returned to her bench, her posture radiating authority. "Madison Elizabeth Prescott, based on the video evidence, your own social media posts, and your complete lack of remorse demonstrated here today, I am finding you guilty of all charges. And here is your sentence." Madison gripped the defendant's table, her knuckles white. "For the destruction of Ms. Rodriguez's vehicle, you will pay $8,400 for her lost wages. $680 for the emotional distress caused to Ms. Rodriguez and her daughter, including the lost scholarship opportunity. $5,000 for court costs, $1,200. The total amount due is $15,280. To be paid by you personally within 30 days, not by your father, not by your trust fund, by you from money you earn yourself." Madison's voice cracked. $15,000. I don't have that kind of money. I'm a student. My dad pays for everything." Judge Judy continued, as if Madison hadn't spoken. "Your driver's license is suspended for 18 months, effective immediately. You will surrender it to the bailiff before leaving this courtroom." Madison's face went white. 18 months? How am I supposed to get anywhere? How do I get to school, to my apartment, to anywhere? Judge Judy's voice was ice cold. "The same way Ms. Rodriguez gets to her 2 jobs: public transportation, buses, trains, ride shares. The same methods used by millions of Americans every single day." Madison looked like she might vomit. "You want me to ride the bus with random people? That's not safe. That's not reasonable." Judge Judy wasn't finished. "You are also sentenced to 250 hours of community service to be completed at the Department of Motor Vehicles, helping people apply for licenses and registration every Saturday and Sunday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. for the next 6 months. Madison was openly crying now, mascara streaming down her face. "The DMV, that's where poor people go. You can't make me work there. My dad will appeal this. His lawyers will have this thrown out." Judge Judy leaned forward, her final words carrying the weight of absolute authority. "Ms. Prescott, your father's money ends at that courtroom door. Appeal all you want." The sentence stood, but Judge Judy wasn't finished. What she said next would become the most talked about component of the entire ruling. "Ms. Prescott, since you seem to enjoy social media so much, since you turn Ms. Rodriguez's pain into content for your followers, here's what else you'll do. You will create a public video apology that will be posted on all of your social media accounts: TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, everywhere you have a presence. In this video, you will explain exactly what you did, why it was wrong, and you will apologize directly to Ms. Rodriguez and her daughter Sophia. This video will remain posted for a minimum of 2 years. You cannot delete it. You cannot disable comments. You cannot hide or ignore negative responses. And Ms. Rodriguez's response to your apology will be pinned to the top of every comment section. Madison collapsed back into her chair, sobbing. Uncontrollably, you can't control my social media. That's a violation of my First Amendment rights. My dad will sue you for this. Judge Judy's voice cut through Madison's hysteria like steel. Refuse any part of this sentence, Ms. Prescott, and you'll face contempt of court charges and possible jail time. Your choice. The courtroom was utterly silent except for Madison's crying. Judge Judy looked past the broken teenager to the back of the courtroom, where a distinguished-looking man in an expensive suit watched the proceedings. Mr. Prescott, I assume you're Madison's father. Richard Prescott stood, his face grave. Yes, Your Honor. Judge Judy's next question made Madison's head snap up in horror. Mr. Prescott, your daughter's behavior is a direct result of never facing real consequences. She's caused over $127,000 in damages across 5 accidents, and every time your money has made the problem disappear. Do you agree with this sentence? The pause felt like an eternity. Madison stared at her father, mascara-stained tears streaming down her face, her eyes pleading. Richard Prescott looked at his daughter, and for a moment his expression softened with obvious pain. Then he straightened his shoulders and addressed Judge Judy with quiet dignity. Your Honor, I agree completely. I should have done this years ago. My money has ruined my daughter, and I take full responsibility for creating this situation. She needs to face reality, and I will not interfere with this sentence in any way. Madison's scream was anguished, primal. Dad, what are you doing? You're supposed to protect me. You always fix everything. Richard's voice was gentle but firm. No, Madison. I'm supposed to raise you to be a decent human being, and I failed. Judge Sheindlin is giving you something I should have given you years ago: accountability. As the bailiff prepared the paperwork for Madison to sign, Judge Judy addressed Jessica Rodriguez, who had been sitting quietly, tears streaming down her face. Ms. Rodriguez, do you have anything you'd like to say? Jessica stood slowly, her voice steady despite her emotion. Your Honor, I don't want revenge. I don't want to destroy this young woman's life. I just want her to understand that people aren't numbers, aren't peasants, aren't content for social media. We're human beings with families, dreams, and dignity. If she learns that lesson, if she becomes a better person because of this, then maybe something good can come from all this pain. The grace in Jessica's words created a moment of profound silence in the courtroom. Madison looked up at Jessica carefully, looked at her for the first time, and something in her expression shifted. The entitlement cracked, and underneath it, you could see the first glimpse of genuine shame. Judge Judy's final words to Madison would be quoted in law schools and parenting seminars for years to come. Ms. Prescott, Ms. Rodriguez just showed you more mercy than you deserve. I suggest you spend every moment of your sentence thinking about the kind of person you want to be. Do you want to continue being the girl who walked into this courtroom today, or do you want to become someone worthy of the second chance you're being given? Court is adjourned. The video of Madison's eye roll and subsequent sentencing was uploaded to social media within 2 hours. By that evening, it had been viewed 12 million times. By the next morning, 40 million. Within a week, over 100 million people across every platform had witnessed the moment when entitled privilege met real consequences. The hashtag THATS, not my problem, trended worldwide, becoming a symbol for holding wealthy people accountable. Asterisk. Madison's Instagram apology video, posted 3 days after the trial, was raw and devastating. Gone were the makeup, the designer clothes, and the carefully curated image. She sat in what appeared to be her bedroom, face red and swollen from crying, and spoke directly to the camera. "My name is Madison Prescott, and I destroyed Jessica Rodriguez's life because I thought being rich made me better than her. I called her a peasant. I mocked her struggles. I turned her pain into entertainment for my followers. I was wrong about everything. I'm using this platform that I abused to say I'm sorry, but I know sorry isn't enough. I'm going to spend the next year proving that I can change, that I can become someone worthy of the mercy Mrs. Rodriguez showed me." The video went viral, accumulating 15 million views in 24 hours. 6 months later, the transformation in Madison Prescott was remarkable. She had completed 170 hours of her DMV community service, working every weekend without complaint. Her first minimum wage job at a local coffee shop taught her what real work felt like. She sold her designer bags, expensive jewelry, everything she could part with to pay off the $15,000 faster. By month 4, she had paid every cent, working 30 hours a week while maintaining her college classes. Asterisk. The privilege workshops had opened her eyes to realities she had never considered. The books assigned on class inequality and economic injustice fundamentally changed how she saw the world. But the most profound change came from her monthly shadowing days with Jessica Rodriguez. That first day, waking up at 5:45 to accompany Jessica to her supermarket shift shattered every assumption Madison held. She watched Jessica stand for 8 hours, scanning groceries, dealing with rude customers, maintaining dignity and kindness despite exhaustion. She saw Jessica's tiny apartment, met Sophia, who somehow maintained straight A's while working part-time to help her mother. She accompanied Jessica to her second job, cleaning office buildings until 11 at night, and understood for the first time what sacrifice actually meant. Asterisk. By month 6, something unexpected happened. Madison and Jessica began actually talking, sharing stories, building something that looked like mutual respect. Madison created a scholarship fund for children of single parents, contributing $50 monthly from her coffee shop wages. Her father matched it with $5,000 monthly, and within a year, the fund had grown to $65,000. Sophia Rodriguez became the first recipient, receiving money for her first year at Stanford. At the presentation ceremony, Madison and Sophia embraced, both crying, and Madison whispered words the microphone barely caught. "I can never undo what I did, but I can spend the rest of my life trying to do better." Asterisk. The video of that moment, titled "Rich Girl and Scholarship Recipient," hugging, went as viral as the original courtroom footage. Madison's social media presence transformed completely. Instead of posting designer bags and luxury cars, she shared stories of people she met at the DMV, advocated for workers' rights, and discussed wealth inequality. Her followers, once hate-watching her downfall, began supporting her genuine transformation. Comments shifted from mockery to encouragement as people witnessed real change, real growth, real accountability turning into redemption. Asterisk. Today, Madison Prescott is a completely different person than the girl who walked into Judge Judy's courtroom. She changed her college major from fashion merchandising to social work. She volunteers at a women's shelter. She speaks at high schools about privilege, accountability, and the danger of believing money makes you better than others. Her relationship with her father, strained by his refusal to rescue her, has been rebuilt on a foundation of honesty and mutual respect. Richard Prescott says his daughter's sentence was the best thing that ever happened to their family because he got back the girl he thought he'd lost to wealth and entitlement. Asterisk. Judge Judy's sentence didn't just punish Madison, it saved her from becoming a monster, gave her the opportunity to discover empathy, and prove that sometimes the hardest consequences create the most meaningful transformations. If this story moved you, if you believe in second chances earned through genuine accountability, hit that subscribe button and share this video. Comment below about what you think real justice looks like. And remember what Judge Judy taught us. That day, consequences aren't cruelty. They're opportunities for growth. That's not punishment. That's love.